Hi, my name is Fabby Rodriguez, and I am part of the Psych 370 Human Development a Lifespan class. And the topic that I chose to focus on was Piaget's 6 substages of the sensorimotor period. So, this is my outline overview, and I'll also be giving you a short introduction. And the model that I want to show you guys is on the next slide. So, there are 6 substages, and for each one to follow, I had given it a separate slide. And then after those, I had also made a conclusion and references page. So, a short introduction of why I chose this topic. I was looking through my Canvas page and I just was curious of what topics that I didn't give much attention to or as much work as I would have liked. And I remembered this topic in the module and realized that I had such a hard time with it at first. For me, there was just so much information at the time, and I was just having a hard time categorizing these stages and remembering what was what, and just memorization was just really challenging at the time. And so now being given the opportunity to make a visual aid, a presentation, and just work on this and study it again, I realized that it is a lot more simpler than I had thought initially, and I hope that I can also teach you guys with my work. And so I really enjoyed this model that I found because I really liked the colorful components as well as the categories that they clearly made. So the categories include the substages, the age ranges, as well as the descriptions for each substage. So substage 1 is reflexes, and that happens between 0 to the first month. And you will notice in each slide, out of the many pictures I have, I focus on one to help remember what the stage is about. And so for this one, I chose a mouth. This stage is when newborns are adjusting to the world that they are in, and they start using their reflexes. And that includes sucking, reaching, and grasping. So they are now adjusting to the world and they're starting to utilize those reflexes. Substage 2 is the primary circular reactions, and this happens between the first and the fourth month. And I use a thought bubble for this. In the next few months, the infant begins to actively repeat actions with their body because they find it interesting. For example, an infant accidentally puts their thumb in their mouth and then does it again since they found it interesting. Substage 3, secondary circular reactions. This happens between 4 to 8 months. Now the infant is exploring items in their environment and intentionally creates the repeated interaction for their further enjoyment. And so for this, I chose the ear because I had an example, which is they realize when they grasp and shake a rattle, it makes a new sound. They repeat it again to hear the sound again. Substage number 4, coordination of secondary circular reactions. This happens between 8 to 12 months. At this point, the infant realizes that they can combine reflexes and behaviors to achieve their specific goals or intentions. So, this is possibly from continued maturation of the prefrontal cortex. And an example that I chose to attach with the image and this substage was that they want to retrieve a toy from under the table. So they lower their body and may attempt to move some obstacles and crawl under to reach that toy. And that was their specific goal. Substage number 5, I do have a hard time with this word, tertiary, circular reactions. This happens between 12 to 18 months. Now becoming a little scientist, the now toddler engages in trial and error actions to explore new possibilities. Since their motor and behavior skills have heightened, they'll start experimenting activities in which they are uncertain or curious about the outcome. So, for an example, they wonder what different sounds they will make by hitting different surfaces. I love music and I've always loved music as a kid, so that was something that I specifically did and to see what sounds I enjoyed. So, substage number 6, the last one, beginning of representational thought. This happens between 18 to 24 months. This sensory motor period comes to an end when the toddler starts engaging in imaginary play or uses objects in a symbolic manner. They will also use past problems and problem strategies as well. So, for example, they utilize the twigs they found outdoors to play and use as magic wands. Another example is that they remember that they can call their parents to help them tie their shoes when they realize that the shoes are interfering with their running. And I use the little, theater masks for that because they're now engaging in imaginative play. So the sources that I used, the fact check Gambia was for the model, the beautiful model, and I had used our textbook to help me resource and understand this content further. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope that you guys learned this topic a little bit more as well. Thank you so much.